Hi, I'm the Reverend Karen L. Mercer, and I am the pastor, the priest at the Church of the Holy Nativity on Pimlico Road in Baltimore, Maryland. And we want to welcome you to our season 2 of the Imani Project podcast. In fact, we're going to be changing the name from the Imani Project to Imani in Action. And we're so excited that you've tuned in, and we hope that you continue to come back and listen to some of the podcasts the conversations that we've had on our podcast and the ones that are coming up over the next year. So you will find us a new episode every fourth Tuesday of the month. And so we hope that you will tune in, invite your friends. We would just love to have you listen to some of the podcasts and also reach out to us and let us know those types of issues or something that may be burning that you want to discuss. Please let us know. And you can do that by reaching out to us at Vicar, that's VICAR, at holynativitybaltimore.org. And we'd love to hear from you. Tonight is our first episode for season 2, and it is on entrepreneurship and business ownership. We would love for you to listen in, and if you have any questions that come up later, feel free to get back with us through that same email at Vicar, that's VICAR at at holynativitybaltimore.org. I hope that you will invite your friends. And like I said, if you would like also to be a part of a live session, one of our live podcasts, let us know that as well. Once again, these podcasts that Holy Nativity is providing on our website and on our YouTube channel are there for you to be able to get information that we think might be of interest to you. But if we're missing the mark, please let us know so that we can get important, viable information out to you as soon as possible, things that you as young adults would like to hear about. Thank you and God bless. So, good afternoon. This is our second episode of the second season of Imani, the project. And we have actually renamed our project now to Imani in Action. We believe faith should, in fact, be in action. And we're so excited today to be able to continue the work that we do, to be able to have real conversations that hopefully inspire and empower and help others to make a difference in their lives as well as their communities. I'm Reverend Karen Mercer, and I am the priest and the pastor at the Church of the Holy Nativity. And we are just excited about this podcast being able to reach out to as many people as possible. This afternoon, we are fortunately blessed that we have Mr. Michael Jackson to join us. Michael has years of experience in the financial realm and actually is going to talk to us today about financial literacy. I see that there are people joining, so I'm going to wait just a moment, Mr. Jackson, to get them to see if they can get connected to audio before we move forward.
Certainly.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I see people are able to join. All right. Good afternoon. I was just explaining that I'm Reverend Karen Mercer, and I know some of you from Sutton Scholars have worked with our consultant, Jamie Anderson, in the past. And today I'm actually going to lead the discussion. And I just want to welcome you to this podcast episode. We're going to be discussing financial literacy. And as I explained in the beginning, Mr. Jackson has over 25 years, is it, of experience in the financial realm. And so we're just excited to hear what he has to share with us about financial literacy. I hope that those of you who are able will actually either put something in the chat if you have questions, or take yourself off of mute and ask questions as well. We will have an opportunity for Q&A, but in case there's something that's just a burning issue, please feel free to do that. Before we do that, if you can, could you just come off mute first and just introduce yourselves and tell how long you've been with Sutton Scholars and where you are in your educational process? So I see there are two of you, three of you on. Anybody? Just come off of mute and introduce yourselves.
My name is Ayo, and I've been with Sutton for for 1 year.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you.
Mhm.
My name is Temi, and I've been with Sutton for 1 year.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I know that Antonio is on, but I'm not sure that Antonio has been able to connect with our audio for some reason, but I know that Antonio is on. I see the name here. All right. Well, thank you both for introducing yourself. And Mr. Jackson, I'll let you start by introducing yourself.
Well, thank you. I'm Michael Jackson. So let's see. How do I introduce myself? I am the husband to Vera, a father to Jasmine and Michael, a child of God. Um, I'm passionate about social justice, land use, and com public health. So beyond just telling you what I do for a living, I try to introduce myself around who I am and what is important to me. And so, being a father, a husband, child of God, those are the things that I prioritize. And that is to me more important than what I do in the marketplace. But just for this purpose, I do hold the position of a chief financial officer for the Virginia Community Healthcare Association. And as Reverend Mercer has mentioned, I have over 25 years of experience in finance and accounting in both public and nonprofit and for-profit organizations. I'm happy to be here with you today. I am passionate about um, transferring experience and knowledge to youth, and so I'm happy to join you all.
Thank you. Seems like Antonio has gotten connected. Is that right, Antonio? Can you unmute yourself for a minute?
Yes, I'm sorry about that. I can hear it now.
Oh, great, great. Just introduce yourself as well and how long you're an alumni of Sutton Scholars. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Um, my name is Antonio. I am now 21. I started in the program when I was about 14. So
Okay.
I've been an alumni about 3 years.
All
I guess.
right.
Yeah.
So you're doing that real adulting stuff now, huh?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. All right. Well, I'm Reverend Mercer, and as our guest introduced himself, Mr. Jackson is going to lead us in a discussion, and we hope that you will all have something to share, to ask, and be involved in this today, because this is a really, I think, important topic, especially in today's world.
Yes, ma'am.
So, yeah, so Mr. Jackson, I'll start out just asking what you think some of the biggest misconceptions that people, especially young people, have about money and wealth.
Well, thank you. Good question. I'm not certain that young people have a misconception as much as they have not been exposed to the reality of money and wealth. I think sometimes families, whether they are on the whatever place that they find themselves on the spectrum of wealth, social, economic, middle class, mid upper class, struggling working class. Um, I don't know that the topic of money is one that is easily discussed with children in an honest and real way. It's kind of like, okay, from 0 to 5, what child knows how much it costs for their Teddy Grahams? You know, from 5 to 10, who really knows other than the lunch money that they may receive? Do they know how much it takes to run the household? What are the average monthly expenses? And it's not normally until they get teenage years, they may start thinking about purchasing a vehicle or going to college, that the conversations around money get a little more realistic. And so, depending on the aspect of what young people you're talking about and how, if they're misconceptions. Now, having a 20-year-old and 21-year-old, I think having exposed them to the realities of money and wealth, there are some decisions that youth make that sometimes are counter to what folks that have some more lived experiences may think are beneficial. But I think um, the conception about money and wealth for youth, to me, really has to do with what they have been exposed to by those that are caregivers and parents for them.
Okay. Oh, that makes sense. So as we're talking about financial literacy, maybe we need to help help us understand what that is exactly. What is financial literacy?
Um, Financial literacy is really the understanding of what it takes to secure the resources that it takes to provide for your food, shelter, clothing, transportation. That's the literacy of, around what that takes is understanding how to navigate banking, investing, savings, credit. Those things I mean, around the literacy of that is making certain, hey, I think folks knowing, okay, this is a 39.99 a month subscription. How much is that going to cost me for a year? If I get a 5 or 10% discount, what is that?
Mm.
Those types of things are about how you can navigate easily and not making financial decisions based on feelings, but also including some facts. And I think it's about exposure, and those that know better do better. And why it's important to start with youth is because just because you've been exposed to something one time doesn't mean that you're going to grasp it that first time, and
Mm.
doesn't mean that you won't make mistakes, me included. I don't think that there's anyone that, is completely without financial mistakes and missteps, and um, things that we learn through live experiences are important. But I think the earlier that individuals are exposed to financial transactions, the greater their literacy trajectory becomes.
Okay. So being the father of two adult children now, I think I heard you say 20 and 21. Is
That's
that right?
correct. Yes.
So at what age did you start informing them around financial matters, and what has that been like for them? I'm curious.
Um, I think my own personal experiences, I think I started working when I was fairly young. I can't remember. It may have been a golf course or something like that. And then I might have worked at a bowling alley in high school and some things like that. And so the interesting thing is that I was at an early age, even in high school, familiar with completing my own tax returns as a high schooler. And that has guided my, well, even before that, I think in the ninth grade, I decided I wanted to I was exposed to an IRS tax accountant in school, and I said that's what I wanted to be. And that set me off on a trajectory of becoming an accountant. So my children didn't necessarily have a choice as much in the matter of being exposed to those financial things, but they at an early age, but that was kind of the way that they were brought up. And so, um, my son, I think at 13, got his first job, and we took the money and put it in an investment account for him. He was not too pleased about that. I think Michael was a General Assembly House delegate page, and they got a per diem, and they got a a salary for 6 weeks or yeah, I think 6 or 8 weeks or something like that. And I think the age range was, I think they were in eighth grade, and I think it was 13 or 14 years old, and they made $1,000. And so we put that $1,000 in an investment account, and he and his friends were talking about how yeah, low key, your dad is really, I'm really mad at your dad for not giving you your money. And I'm like, okay, so what 13-year-old needs to walk around with $1,000 in their pocket? That's what they wanted to do and what he wanted to do at the time. But, now he is 21, so 7 or so years later, he's got $2,500 in a Charles Schwab investment account because we didn't allow him to spend it. And, even when he decided, oh, he wanted to go to the NBA All-Star game. Okay, that sounded like that's a good thing to do. We can save that money and put it and invest it, and you can have enough to buy your ticket to the NBA All-Star game. Then he found out as he got older that the cheapest ticket was $850 to get to the NBA All-Star game. So that became not as a priority as keeping that money growing. And so, just a little tip about investing, he decided during the pandemic to invest in um, MGM stock. And MGM stock was, it was right around the time that the pandemic had hit. A lot of the cruise ships had stopped. Their stock prices were depressed because no one was traveling. And it got in at, I think, $18 or so, 13, $15, somewhere in that range, between
Share
13 and $18 per share.
for sure. Okay.
Yeah. And so he was able to invest some of his $1,000 into that stock. And after the pandemic stopped, people started going back. Also happened that around that same time, gambling was legalized in all 50 states, and you saw MGM, you see, I think Jamie Foxx and others talking about sports betting, and the stock ballooned up to over $55 a share. And so that kind of experience and exposure to him, even at an age where he was 17, 18 at the time, I think making those decisions and seeing it was, okay, this thing can really have some impact. I can see my money growing. And I think that was the other component about financial literacy for me that was impactful, is to require that they learn how to read a bank statement, balance a checkbook, know how to write things down in a ledger, and how to read an investment account. And so those are the pieces about the exposure to financial literacy and making certain that you not only know how to put your ATM and swipe your debit card and those type of things, but understanding how banks make money. They take your investment, they give you a small interest rate and charge you a higher interest rate to borrow money. And so, if they're giving you 2 or 3 or 4% interest on your savings, if you need to borrow money to pay something that you don't have all of the funds at this time, they're going to charge you 10, 15%. They make up the difference, and that's the bank's profit. And they're very profitable in what they do because they charge high rates to lend money, and they give fairly low rates of an investment.
Okay.
So
So I want to stop for just a second and see if there are any questions or any scenarios that anyone wants to share about your involvement in financial literacy or in, investing or savings, just so that we're making sure we're giving you information that's important. Anybody?
Uh, I just wanted. I don't really have any questions, but when we was talking about the stock market, I did a little bit of investments when I was 13, but To me, the stock market was more slow, so I moved to day trading. If you familiar with forex?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do forex. So that's what I've been doing lately. I make a good amount of profit on that. But as far as stocks, and I wanted to comment also. If you're not investing, a good way to go if you're tend to do a job. I would look into IRA and 401k. Investing your money in there to retire for retirement. But yeah.
I completely concur. And to do that at an early age, especially hearing someone that's your age at 21, the sooner you start those things and begin building those habits, it's like the compounding effect. And so the interest on top of interest on top of interest. And so the earlier you start, the more you will have later in life. And so sometimes, and I will point to myself, young folks, as I was when I got married, the first thing that we did is that we, a year later, bought a house. And we bought as much of houses that we could afford based on our income. And there are some things where you want to make certain that you're moving into this stage in life where you believe these are the things that I should be doing. Moving out of my parents' house, getting an apartment, getting a house, getting a car, married, children, all of those things that come in life, starting making those habits about investing for your future, and that you won't always be working. You will want to retire at some time, and you want to have a nest egg, if you will, to help you in those later years. So, 401ks where jobs offer those, IRAs, job 401ks, 403bs, these are all just code sections of the tax code, the Internal Revenue Tax Code, but they're investment vehicles that give you advantages around pre-tax investments that grow over time, and you can get the gains much higher interest rates than if you were just to put that money in a bank and they get their 3 or 4%.
Okay. All right. Ladies, I see your faces now. It's nice to see your faces. Any questions or thoughts that you want to share?
Well, not yet.
Yeah, same for me. I don't have a question at the moment.
Miss Mercer, you're on mute.
So thank you so much. Sorry about that. So question, have you started saving? Do you have a savings account yet or?
Yeah, ever
Yeah.
since we're younger, our parents created a savings account for us.
Okay. So what's it
Yeah,
like to see that money grow?
it's it's good.
It feels
It's
good.
like I still want to touch the money.
It's good.
Makes sense. It makes sense. Yeah. So, Mr. Jackson, as young people are saving money, putting money away, is it is it always for a long-term um, fulfillment of something, some goal, or is it okay to also have some short-term goals along the way?
Most definitely, you should have short-term as well as long-term goals. And from a budgeting and planning perspective, it is very difficult to save 100% of what you make and not spend anything. Just simply save, 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 save. There are situations where life happens where you have to save more at times, and you're not able to save as much as you would like at other times. But having a goal of savings is vitally important. I shared with my children the 70-20-10 rule, and I don't know if anyone has ever heard of that before. And basing your and Tone, you shake your head. Did you want to share what 70-20-10 means?
Uh, yeah. But before I do that, can I add a comment on top of the saving? So for me, saving is important, but it's not really a good benefit. I mean, I wouldn't say a good benefit to it, but investment back to investments, because if you save $100 next week or the next day, it'll still be $100. And it's like if you invest in that $100, although that it comes with a risk that you can lose it, you can also multiply that. And that's what I had to learn, because I was also in the mindset of just I would every check I would take about 50% of my check out, and then the rest will go to like bills or whatever, like regular expenses. So well, the other's 50%. But to me, like it was just money sitting in my safe. So it was like that wasn't really benefiting towards me, because like you said, there's no way that you can save 100% of what you're saving. You always have to spend it on something, or you always have to touch that again. So if you're investing in that, your money, that's when it becomes, it's more of a skill set that you have that could last you for long term and short term. So I just wanted to add that.
Certainly. Certainly. So, and Tone, you're speaking my language because you're asking your money to work for you and not you working for your money all the time. You've worked for your money. That's what you get that paycheck for. Now, what do you want your money to do? Your money is going to pay for your room, your food, your car, clothing, entertainment, haircut, nails, makeup, those things. You should not spend everything that you make, because that's where the 70%, try to live off of 70% of what you make. Take 20% and save that, 10% and invest that. Now, spiritually, I also feel that before I even get to my spending, there's a tithing component to spend 10%. So now of that 90%, I'm spending 70, 20, and saving 20, investing 10.
And your
So
tithing is
that
going to your church. Is that what you're saying?
correct. And those are up to you about how you tithe, if you are a member of a church or if you are tithing in some other fashion. But that 70, 20, 10 gets you in the habit of not spending everything that you make. And depending on age wise and your living situations, you may not have the responsibility of the full upkeep of a home. If you're living with parents at this particular time, you have the opportunity to invest and save even more, because maybe your transportation is covered, maybe your food is covered. But those are things that you start those habits at an early age, and then you shouldn't depart from those things as life goes on. So I do believe Tone is 100% correct. You want to invest as much as you possibly can. The savings component is making certain that you do build your rainy day fund, if you will. And so whether that is 4 to 6 months of living expenses, and those things don't happen overnight. I don't know, Tone, you may have been successful enough to invest enough to have that already at 21, but most people take multiple years to get to that point where they have a cushion of 4 to 6 months of living expenses saved up. And I apologize, young ladies. I don't want to mispronounce your names, but you may have an opportunity right now that your parents opened up a savings account for you, and you've actually been able to put in that savings account everything that you need. My thought is that as you get older, those needs are going to they're going to increase and they're going to get larger. And so it's not, it's very unusual to have you to graduate college, start with a rent, car, cell phone, utilities, clothing, and then in 6 months, you've got 6 months of living expenses saved up. Usually doesn't work that way. You're piecing off 20 or so percent every 2 weeks, and it's building over time. It's building over time. These things help for unexpected emergencies that happen. Something goes out in the car. You have to buy a new car. You want to save for a down payment for a house. Um, you want to go back to school for some reason. There are expenses that come up that if you're saving throughout time, it's not as big as a hit to you when you make a decision to make a purchase of a significant amount. Miss Mercer, I did want to take an opportunity to share some information, if I might be able to
Sure.
share the screen with folks.
Let's see. How do I do that? I need to go up to your and allow you to share screen. All right, there it is. Okay, there you go.
Right. And I just came up with some questions, and I thought that might be helpful for us to talk about. And this may be helpful, may not, but you guys direct me in that.
You can't
First,
see your screen yet.
I know, I understand. And so first is the reality of where we are and being, I talked a little bit about misconception and being allowing youth to understand the true reality, the financial reality. And the first thing was, okay, average household in the United States makes how much money? So I also want you guys to be mindful of the sources of your data and to be cautious about that. So the United States Census Bureau puts out some information. And so I'm trying to share with you now income in the United States in 2023. So the real median income, household income was $80,610 in 2023. So that's how much the average household in the United States brought in 2023. But also, if you scroll down, you'll see some tables and it'll give you some information about characteristics of that data. And this isn't working as well as I thought. So the table, I'm going to try to make this bigger so you can see this. Tell me when you can actually see the names and the words. So in 2023, all households, these are in thousands, so that's 132 million households. Average income was $80,610. So here we're talking about family households. 80, those are two folks, married couples, 119,000. Female householder, no spouse, 59,000. Male household, no spouse, 81. Non-family households, just folks being joined, 49,000. Female householder, male householder, 4257. Then we also look at information about race. White, 84,000. White non-Hispanic, 89. Black, 56,000. Asian, 112. Hispanic, any race, 65. Then it comes and we start talking about age. Tell me where you all are in this age range. I think I know, but I want to make certain.
15 to 24.
And 15 to
15 to
24
24.
shows the average is about 54,000, right? Okay. So this is where I wanted to be real with you all about the what averages are. That means that some half are below that, half are above that. I am happy to hear that you guys are Sutton scholars because the bottom of this is going to share some information around educational attainment. And you may hear information about college may not be a wise investment, but tell me what you see about educational attainment. Does it still look like that having a bachelor's degree or higher is worth the investment?
Not really.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about why. What do the numbers say?
It gets bigger as like the degrees get higher.
So that's the average income. So would you say it's still worthwhile going to college? Does it
Yeah.
pay? Does it pay off in the long run?
In the long run, yes, it does.
Right. So those, if the average, again, at the top, we said the average for the entire United States was $80,000. 80,610. For those with no high school diploma, the average is 36,000. With a high school diploma, it's 55. Some colleges 73. A bachelor's degree or higher is 126. So that was just me sharing with you that I still do believe that it is important and it's worthwhile for college obtainment.
Would that also include if college, so we look at college in a lot of different ways, but I'm wondering also for trade, if a person decides to go to trade school and get a trade versus a bachelor's degree.
Absolutely. And want to share with you again a little bit about data and the numbers around the percent of Americans with a college degree. Taking a look at what Americans still prioritize going to college and doing so in record numbers while accounting for children. The percentage of Americans with college degree is at a healthy 31.33%. So still, it's not half of the United States, half of Americans, it's less than half have actually obtained a college degree. Keep these numbers in mind when we start talking about what the average price of a home is. Median price of a home is $419,000 in the United States in last quarter of 2024. Does anybody know how we calculate um, housing affordability? What we consider to be affordable housing? So there's, let me go here and give you a little bit about how HUD defines affordable housing. Affordable housing is generally defined as housing on which the occupant is paying no more than 30% of their income, of their gross income for housing costs. So you remember this number over here? Well, I can't, the 80,610. So if that's the average in the United States and 30% of that is what? Who can do the math or has a phone that can do the math for me fairly quickly?
What's the number again?
80,610. 30% of that.
It's around 24,000.
Is that what the rest of you got? Timmy, are you working? Yeah. All right. So if you could only spend about $24,000, how much is that every month? If you divide that by 12, how much is that every month?
12,000.
Say that again.
Wait, you said
If you were, so we're doing annual income of 80,000. You gave me 30% of that. Now divide that by 12.
2,000.
What is it? 2,000 you said?
Yeah.
Yep. So that's what the average person could afford to spend on housing costs. You guys familiar with Zillow? Okay.
Yeah.
So here's a calculator for Zillow about affordability. So if we take the annual and change that income to $80,610, that's the average. And this is what it's telling you you could afford a house of $268,000. But remember, what was the average cost price of a house?
Yeah.
410. So let's go do this again. This is just another amortization. You would need yearly income of $114,000 and a down payment of $83,000 to afford an average house in America. So all that to say is that going to school, getting better than average grades, getting a degree puts you on a trajectory to not just be average and trying to afford the average house in America on the average income. You'll see that you can afford to pay about $2,600 a month, and that $2,600 a month with a rate of 6.5%, 30,000 a year for $420,000. But this is the kicker that most people have a problem with, is which I did when I was coming out of school as well. I didn't have $80,000 in my pocket to put down as a down payment on a house. So I just wanted to share some of that information with you all. And
Can I add something
hopefully,
to that?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Uh, I understand college is beneficial.
Yep.
But I would say unless the degree major is worthwhile and is going to make you that income, uh, could be because certain majors will lead you to debt, and a lot of the that's one aspect that they don't talk about in finance is debt and loans, because loans, if you can't pay that off, if you're not making enough to pay back that loan, you will mess up your credit, and credit is the most important thing in the U.S. So I
Understood.
understand. I understand that college is uh, beneficial, but a lot of people are in debt. The ones who are making that amount of income and living in those houses,
Yep.
and some of them can't even pay that back because they're still paying from school, or you know. But it's not to discourage anybody from going to college, but it's just that's just something to also think about.
Absolutely right. It is a pathway. It is not the only path. And so interesting, you all are familiar with Duke University, right? You know Duke. The top wage earning school in Duke University is plumbing. Plumbers, they actually have a degree in plumbing at Duke, and they make more than any other profession in Duke. And so there are certain things that can't be outsourced. You're not going to be able to outsource drawing blood. You're not going to be able to outsource the changing of tires or those types of things. There are certain, and there is nothing wrong with working with your hands. Um, what I will share with you is that you, I had this conversation with my wife around our children. If my son Michael or my daughter Jasmine wanted to grow up and to be a tradesperson, maybe my son liked working on HVACs, the air conditioning, wanted to do that. Would I force them to go to college, or would I just let them go down the path of their trade? Our discussion centered around, I want them to have the knowledge of making that trade make money for them. When you take your automobile into the dealership or the repair shop, they normally tell you that there's a shop rate of $100 per hour flat. You bring it in. If there's nothing wrong with it, we still got to get paid for our time. So they're going to charge you a shop rate. When a plumber comes out to your house to make a house call, they tell you it's going to be a call charge of at least $150 or more. Understand that in business, that individual coming to you isn't making $100 an hour. They're charging you that, but those people that are actually doing the work are a part of that cost. And so our desire would be, go ahead, Michael, Jasmine, follow your passion. You like to work with your hands. You want to do this, but go to school to get the business knowledge to own your own. Excuse
Mhm.
me for that. To own your own HVAC company or your own mechanic garage so that if you want to turn wrenches and change tires or build HVAC systems, great. No problem with that. Honest day's work, honest day's pay. But also understand that you have to have a business mindset, whether that is a barber shop or a beauty shop, and you have to have clientele and marketing and quality control and utilities and your licensures and paying taxes. You want to make certain that you have the financial literacy and the business acumen to be able to sustain that. Nothing wrong with that at all. So I've shared some information with you about things that I thought might be important, but I want to give this opportunity to turn it over back to Ms. Mercer. If there are other questions that you have or the students have, I'd be happy to entertain those.
Certainly, certainly. So, questions, thoughts. I'd love to hear from all of you about what you heard today, how it may have kind of landed with you, impacted you, what your thoughts are, what your plans are around your own financial futures.
I want to say from my understanding from everything that saving isn't always the best thing and that investing, even though you can lose money, you can still gain. So you still take the 50-50 chance of gaining money.
Mhm.
I wanted to add on to what she said. I feel like it's worth taking that risk to try and gain money rather than just leaving it in that savings.
Okay. And if I'm correct, Mr. Jackson, that when you're young is that a really good time to take that risk because when you get old like me, you can't bounce back, right? So the stock market may, as you guys probably know, stock market goes up and down, and you have to be willing to kind of ride that out. But for someone like me who is looking at, I'm already retired, I'm a pastor now, but I will retire again. And I don't want to put my money in risky situations because I know I'm going to need it sooner rather than later. So being able to invest while you're young and having I guess, a hunger for that and a drive for that is a positive path to be on. Yeah.
Your risk tolerance is a lot higher the younger that you are. The older that you get and the closer you get to your event horizon, you may hear that term. The event horizon is when are you going to need that money to pay for your expenses?
Mm.
And at an early age, it's decades away, tens and 20s of years away. You're able to tolerate a higher risk level. So the fluctuation can go 25% in either direction. And it's okay because at 18, 25, I'm not needing to retire in the next 6 months. I've got 30 years before or more of working that I can make certain that this investment gets reinvested and rides the ups and downs of the market. As you get closer to that event which we consider to be retirement and where you need to start drawing that money out, you want to move into less risky investments. They're not going to pay you as much. They're also not going to lose you as much. Earlier in your investing career, you have a higher tolerance of risk. And so, yeah, the adjusting those are just like fine tuning your tennis shoes or your shoelaces. I need to tighten it up here or I need to loosen it up at this point in time.
I just want to say I wish someone had had these conversations with me when I was your age. It would have really helped to understand that. I want to ask though, real quickly about credit cards. Any of you concerned about credit cards or have questions about credit cards? Because they can really be a trap sometimes, and sometimes very necessary, but they can also be a trap.
One question I have is like, when would be a good time to use a credit card?
So this is just me speaking. I think it's important at 18 for individuals to obtain a credit card in their own name with their social security number for a couple of reasons. One, to establish good credit. Two, to ensure that you have not been the victim of identity theft and no one has actually got obtained credit in your name. One of the things with identity theft, again, I'm a certified fraud examiner, and so that's a little bit of my passion and background. Individuals that are looking to steal folks' identity, those folks that aren't checking their credit reports are usually younger because I'm 16. No one has credit. I don't have credit. I can't sign a contract. But the closer and closer you get to 18, there are lots of scammers out there that try to obtain credit in individuals' name under false pretenses. And so once you turn 18, a single credit card of a modest 500 to $1,000 it is what I would recommend folks to do. Once you recognize that what credit cards are, they are a way for you to pay for things that you don't have the money today to do. But the credit card companies, just like the banks, are in business to make money. So they charge you an interest rate. And so think about what to purchase with a credit card, what not to purchase. Purchasing a Big Mac with a credit card, Big Macs are what, $4 now? And if you put on 21% interest, by the time you pay it off, that Big Mac may turn into $10 over time. Not smart. Gas. You put in, what is it, $3 a gallon? You paid $3.99 a gallon for the gas, but you put it on a credit card. So what you wind up really paying for that is that plus the interest. So those things that you would like to purchase, again, think about it if you want a new outfit or you want a new jersey or something of that nature. How long is it going to last me? Is it of value to me? And what is the opportunity cost? That opportunity cost I talk about is what else could I be doing with this money? If I was able to invest that money into the stock market and it could gain me interest, I've taken it out of that and placed it into something that I am paying someone else interest on because I didn't have $100 at the time in cash. I I use credit to buy it. And so now I'm not going to pay $100 for that. I'm going to pay 100 plus. And is that item worth 100 plus?
Mhm. And the other part of that too, Mr. Jackson, I think, is that, especially if you have one credit card, you have a job, and that credit card is not a huge limit on that card. You can always pay your credit card off each month, right? And avoid the interest on the card. But it does take a lot of discipline to do that, because it's easier to swipe the card and say, okay, and then the bill comes, oh, I'll just pay the minimal amount. You'll be paying for a long time and paying a lot of interest if you do it that way. So, yeah.
It would be more helpful to get a secure credit if you're gonna just if you if you're just a swiper of the card
Yeah,
and put it in terms of that. But a secured credit line, that's when you add your own money to your credit
yeah,
to the credit card.
certainly. And it establishes good credit for you as well.
Yes.
And having and keeping and maintaining good credit is important. It has impacts in lots of aspects of your life, from the rate of insurance, car insurance, to life insurance, to how much you pay. We talked about an average of a 6.5% mortgage rate. That's going to be based on your credit score. Life insurance, health insurance, car insurance, all of those things will look at your credit score and how disciplined you have been about paying your bills on time and not overextending yourself. And that's why the living off of 70/20/10 is not spending more. And so those are different things that, as you know better, you do better. A lot of the banking institutions now have the ability to track your spending in graphical terms. And so you will be able to show, this is an adage of, you can't manage what you don't measure. And so if you're not tracking how much you're spending every month, you won't know once it's gotten out of hand. So start tracking that, reading your statements every month, looking at them. Your online banking apps, a lot of them give you the ability to track your spending in categories of how much in food, how much in transportation, clothing, entertainment, and things like that.
And I will say it's so important. I do a lot of counseling of couples that are about to be married. And one of the things that we do is we actually do a whole 2 weeks on budgeting and financial management. And they are always shocked and surprised when they look at it in writing about how much they spend. What do you think is the highest number cat of the what category do you think they spend the most? What do you think?
Shopping,
What kind of shopping?
like groceries.
Yeah, so food shopping is not as high as going out to eat. People realize that I have seen couples that spend thousands of dollars a month to go out and eat, and their food shopping is like this because they go out a lot. And people don't realize how quickly that adds up over time. It's a big hit to some of their budgets, actually. So. Yeah, budgeting is, I think, we didn't really get in a lot of detail about budgeting, but we've kind of talked about it on the periphery here. And budgeting, being able to budget your money, like the 70/20/10 is really an important discipline, I think. So, this has been enjoyable for me just to hear young people talk about this and to be so excited about it themselves. So, I hope it's been helpful to the three of you as well.
Yes. I have a question for you.
Sure.
Um, are either one of you connected with HVAC, any companies, or know someone?
With what?
HVAC.
Oh, you know what? I may have a contact that might be um, connected with someone, a gentleman that does a lot of work for us at the church,
Hmm.
and he oversees certain projects. So, are you looking for like an apprenticeship or something, or?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and I've got your email. So what I'll do is let me see if I can find out something and give you a email.
All right. Thank you.
Sure. Anything else? No? Okay. Well, look, thank you for giving up an hour of your Saturday to spend with us. We so appreciate this. We're
Thank you.
and we're going to actually have it up on our YouTube channel, as well as we'll make sure that Miss Zena and Miss Neva get a copy as well of this.
I wanted to add a comment to Mr. Michael.
Sure.
Yeah, when you were talking about the HVAC,
Yeah,
and that's my whole perspective of everything is a business mindset.
good.
I always think of ownership.
Yeah,
But right now, I'm actually in the process of trying to start my own HVAC. I want to start off with electrical, but I want to get a apprentice so I can at least have some experience in the field. Because I did one job, but that was for like my teacher. So I didn't really have it wasn't really like through an actual company. So I'm just trying to get in the field right now. That way, because I already have my LLC, so I can. So my LLC has some years on it. I started that when I was in school, so I had some years on my background. That way, when I start my actual company, I want to say like I'm new to it, and people actually, worth looking into me. So yeah, but yeah, I always think of ownership. So yeah.
I'm glad we were able to connect it. And again, it was you're thinking that way, and that's where I would hope that the entrepreneurial mindset of you need to gain the skills and get the exposure and the experience and the apprenticeship, but you have the entrepreneurial mindset of I one day I'm going to own this and it's going to
Right.
be mine and I'm doing that. And that was the same thing my wife and I talked about. If our son ever wanted to go that, it's not something that we are unhappy with. It is we want you to have that entrepreneurial mindset.
Right.
All right.
Thank y'all.
Thank you so
Thank you
much. And
all.
Mr. Jackson, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it and great information. All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of your day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.